Hey everyone, and welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. Reuben Frank, Dave Zangaro here. We're live from Rivers Casino in Philadelphia. We're at the sports book here. It's a nice day. People out and about.
Yeah,
A little chilly.
very chilly.
Too cold for me. I've already looked ahead to the weather in Indianapolis.
Balmy.
Not great. Not great. High of 33 on Saturday.
It's never been warm in Indianapolis.
Never. And I was, we're there for the combine every year, and it's always so cold. So I thought, oh, I'm going in November. It won't be as cold, and it's going to be colder, which is just my luck.
Well, I'll be in the toasty studio.
You'll really be rubbing that in too, huh?
I'm sure it'll come up.
We have a lot to talk about
We
today.
do.
A lot has happened with the Eagles in the last few days since we last talked to everyone. A new defensive tackle in the building, maybe another one on the way. Dallas Goedert on IR. And there's a big game against the Colts on Sunday, a game you can't overlook anyone after losing to Washington on Sunday. So we'll get into some of those matchups and the keys to that game. But let's start off with the one addition we know of. It's already happened. Linval Joseph in the building at practice on Thursday, and perhaps Ndamukong Suh on his way.
Yeah, and I mean Howie is gonna make moves. Look, this is a team that's 8-1, coming off a disappointing loss, but Howie's gonna make the moves that he thinks can help this team win a Super Bowl now. And cap space isn't an issue. Um, these are older guys, and we've seen Robert Quinn, who's had a big year last year and has not made an impact at all, who's an older guy. So, look, just because Quinn hasn't played well doesn't mean other mid-30s defensive linemen won't play well. But, Linval Joseph, he hasn't been on a roster.
Well, neither has Suh.
Neither has Suh.
And the Suh report comes from Jay Glazer of Fox Sports, who says that even with the addition of Linval Joseph, they're still interested in Ndamukong Suh, which I was curious about that. Like, did one mean the other one isn't happening? Apparently not. I think there is a little concern about adding all these older defensive linemen. I don't know what you can expect to get from them, but
yeah,
I mean, Suh was a very good player even last year.
Yeah,
he's been a good player his whole career. Very steady, doesn't get injured, always
Joseph
on the field.
Too. I mean, he's been very durable and consistent. A couple Pro Bowls.
Heck, we saw Linval Joseph in the game against the Eagles last year. That was his best game of the season. He was tough in that one.
Yeah, he was with the Chargers. Has the distinction of being the heaviest player ever to score a touchdown against the Eagles. He picked up a Carson Wentz fumble. I can't say guy and nitty because it could be you this week. Picked up a Carson Wentz fumble after a sack, something you rarely see, and returned it 64 yards for a touchdown at the Link in 2018. He's a good player. I mean, but he's not going to get you sacks. He's not going to get a whole ton of pressure, but he's a run stuffer.
That's what they need right now.
That's really what they need.
And it's going to help them. We assume we have to see if he's in shape and all that. Jonathan Gannon seems pretty confident knowing him that he's going to be in shape, but there's a different level to it when you haven't played football all year.
I don't think he was even in a camp.
No, he was, I guess, kind of weighing his options and seeing if there was a situation where he would want to join a team. And they do have the connection with Gannon and some other people in the building, so I think that's probably why he chose to be here. But
money is why he chose to be.
Well, that doesn't hurt, right? But I'm sure they didn't. I'm sure it's not crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
But look, you're still at least 2 more games without Jordan Davis, possibly more. So you'd imagine in the meantime he's going to fill in and be that nose tackle that frees you up to not have to play Javon Hargrave there, because they've been trying not to play Hargrave there, right? They're trying, Marvin Wilson, they're trying Tui Pelotu, and now Tui Pelotu's on IR. And it seems like the only time it really works, that front, the way you want it to work without Jordan Davis, is with Javon Hargrave there. And I think I was like, they're going to have to just start playing him at the nose. Now, at least you have a viable option at that spot who can handle it like those first team reps at that spot until Davis gets back. And now you have a legitimate backup for Jordan Davis.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, we don't know when Jordan Davis will be back, but hopefully he's back as soon as he's eligible. We don't know yet, but you would think down the stretch, if they have both of them, it'll make a big difference in run defense, which has really been a problem for about the last month and a half.
Yeah, and we talked about run defense in the last pod. In that game, it was weird because it was 3.1 yards a pop, and you're like, that's not bad. But we watched Washington kind of dictate the game because of it, and they're limited in options of what they can do, right? So it clearly seems like Gannon did not want to change the scheme, and this is like further evidence of that they go out and get a big nose tackle because that's what he wants to play to stop the run. He didn't. It looked like he really didn't want to play a 4-man front and have to run blitz and have to play games up front just to stop the run. It seems like his idea for this defense, the way he wants to stop the run, is with that bear front, and at least now they have a better piece to do that.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on Sunday. Gannon made it a point of saying, "Look, this is a guy that works out 4 times a day. He'll be ready." I think the initial report, Schefter first tweeted that the Eagles had signed him, and then a minute later tweets, "Linval Joseph believes he's in good enough shape to play Sunday." So nothing to lose. I mean,
Yeah, play him.
give him 12 snaps. He might play if it was last month. If it was Monday night, he might have played 50 snaps.
I know. Maybe get off the field so Linval Joseph doesn't have to like 50 snaps in his debut.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's either sign a veteran who's not on a roster, or get the best available practice squad guy, and you're better off with a veteran.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I am a little skeptical just because we've seen now Robert Quinn in 3 games has not played very well, and I was at least he was on a team, and I didn't think he was playing super poorly in Chicago. So you wonder about it. They have 8 players over the age of 30 on the team for them in the defensive line room, and Ndamukong Suh, if he ends up here, would be the oldest player on the team.
Older than Matt Leo?
Yes.
Wow.
He's 35.
Yeah.
And I'd appreciate that because I'm 34 and I am all about not being older than all the players.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that. I wonder who the last player on the team was who was older than me. Probably Sean Landetta.
Maybe. It's so when I started covering the NFL, I was younger than a lot of the players. And then obviously the way time works, I become older and then the players kind of stay younger. So it's a humbling experience to look around the locker room and be like, oh man, I'm older than all these guys.
Can't imagine. Anyway,
what do you think about Suh? I mean, still worthwhile?
I mean, without knowing what kind of shape he's in, nothing to lose with these.
You know what's crazy about him? He has never played an NFL game he didn't start.
Is that right?
And he's played a ton. I mean, he's missed 2 games in his career.
I think that's true for most. I mean, I'm sure Jason Kelsey's never played a game that he didn't start.
Yeah, you're right.
Fletch, maybe
early in Fletch's career.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, I look, I'm at the point where you're 8-1. You have a real opportunity to do some special things this year. There are things that need to improve. And if you can make the money work, which I think they can in these situations, and you have the roster space, which is not an issue, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Do you worry at all about, I mean, these are veterans, so you assume a certain level of professionalism. Do you worry about the vibe of the locker room?
It's a concern.
It's something they talk about so much.
It's a concern. I don't know. I don't know either of these guys, so I haven't been around them. But they do have coaches who've been around. Certainly, Gannon was with Linval Joseph for 4 years, and many. I think when Howie brings,
we have some news here. It a 1-year deal. Ndamukong Suh. So that's from Schefter and Rappaport. So that's happening. They add in Ndamukong Suh. That's a big deal.
Yeah. So you're hearing it as it happens. I like it. Look, the more pieces you can bring in, the better off you are. And they need help there. I mean, they certainly look. You're not going to win a Super Bowl giving up 150, 160 yards a game.
Mm-hmm.
They got to do something, and they got some legit big time backs coming up against them in the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So
it's fun to add these players who are these are legitimate, like how many Pro Bowls and all these accolades, but you've added in a few weeks here, and I do appreciate that they're going for it. It tells you what they think about this team. Right. I mean, they think they can win right now, and they're going to go after it.
Yeah, and you have to. You don't get these opportunities; they don't come along too often. But The Eagles have signed so many older. I mean, you go back to Kotite brought in all those like Michael Carter and William Perry, and like all these older defensive linemen back then. Um, they don't the percentage of guys you hit on. I mean, William Fuller was great. He was in his mid 30s. He had 3 straight 10-sack seasons at like 33, 34, 35. But he was kind of a big time free agent signing. But these middle of the year guys, it's a crapshoot. You just don't know what you're going to get. I don't think Howie would make a movie if he wasn't comfortable with the locker room fit.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important to him, and I don't think he would abandon that. Um, so you have to think they're comfortable with Suh from that standpoint.
Yeah, so let's look at what Suh did last year because he does get sacks and he has some. You're not going to see a lot of stats for Joseph because he's just such a space eater. But 6 sacks last year for Suh, second straight season with 27 tackles, 13 quarterback hits. So, I mean, he's gonna. You got your nose tackle, and now you got another. Because let's face it, I know Jonathan Gannon said Fletcher Cox is playing well. He's not. He's not playing up to that Fletcher
His
level.
nose was
Yeah, and it's tough because Fletcher's an all-time great player here, but I think the decline has happened in front of all of our eyes, and you wonder, like, if you now add a player like Suh, that's going to help that whole line quite a bit. Now you have to find snaps for all these guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you have a guy like Marlon Tuipulotu who's getting 35 snaps a game.
Yeah, and now he's on IR.
He's on IR. I mean, the snaps.
I think Milton's played all right. I don't love the idea of taking snaps away from Milton, but if you're going to get more from Ndamukong Suh and you're going to try to win a Super Bowl, I get it.
Yeah, and I think I think Fletcher is at the point where does he need to play more than 40% of the snaps?
Probably not. Ideally, he never sees 70 again.
Yeah. Well, that was extenuating circumstances. They ran so many plays, but he's not getting the job done.
Yeah.
And bringing guys who maybe can help.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see, how long it takes Suh and Joseph to get up to speed, not just with the defense, and even if they're in shape. These are guys in their mid 30s who haven't played football in a long time.
Yeah.
So, you wonder how long it's going to take for them to really become viable options and normal rotational players. Ideally, though, you get them up to speed by the playoffs, and then you're kind of hit stride once you get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the injuries the Eagles have right now, it's trying to navigate these next few weeks and and then hit it hard for the stretch run.
Yeah, give them credit though. I mean, it would be really easy to have an 8-1 team and say we'll rest on this, and Jordan Davis is coming back. We know we'll get him back, but I give them credit. They're not done. It doesn't mean it's going to work, these moves, but if it does, Howie's going to look like a genius.
Do you think? Well, he's already a genius. Do you think these two moves are any sort of sign that Jordan Davis might be a ways off or not coming back or something like that?
I don't know about that. It's a high ankle, and they can be tricky. 4 weeks is on the lower end of the normal time frame. It's 4 to 6, and I got to think that if you're 340 pounds, that's a tricky injury.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I'm thinking like if you feel comfortable you're getting back in 2 weeks, I don't know if you bring in both these guys.
It's a fair question.
Yeah, we don't know. They won't.
We've seen Jordan around. I mean, he seems to be walking okay for what that's worth.
I mean, he's not in a boot.
Yeah.
So yeah, he looks fine actually.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean anything. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah. All right. Want to move on from. That was fun. I like some breaking news as we're talking, and we see it. And we see our producers over there, Tom and Spence, are just like waving, like, "What? Hey guys!" I'm waving back, like, "No, there's something happened." Dallas Goedert on IR. We thought this might happen. We knew he was going to be out for a few weeks.
I wonder if the Eagles will sign Antonio Gates while we're doing the podcast.
4 weeks without Dallas Goedert.
At least.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. He was in the locker room with a sling on his left shoulder yesterday. Feel so bad for him. Obviously a huge loss for the team.
Yeah, he finally gets his season to show that he's a top tight end, and he's doing it, and then he gets hurt.
Yeah.
On a play where he did get pulled to the ground by his face mask.
Yeah.
Not that would have changed anything if they threw a penalty, but it stinks that's the way it happened.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think you made the point yesterday that look, Grant Calcaterra and Jack Stoll and maybe Tyree Jackson are going to get the focus of look, they're the next guys up. I don't. I'm not sure Tyree Jackson will even play, but um, or even be up. But
I think he will be.
He'll probably be up. Yeah,
because they do run 13.
Yeah, they do run 13. He'd probably be up. But I mean, he hasn't played he played at the end of last year, but he's got 3 career catches. Stoll has 8 career catches. Calcaterra has 1 career catch.
Yeah.
To make up for losing Dallas Goedert, it's not just those guys, and I think that's important to remember. They're not going to all of a sudden catch 10 balls. It's going to have to be everyone else, the wide receivers, the running backs.
And Goddard's so unique
Yeah.
as a player. Like, we see so many of those plays designed for him, and it's not like these plays are designed for a tight end. They're designed for Dallas Goedert because not many guys can catch a screen pass, break a tackle, bust it for 20 yards downfield, and have that burst. It's like, yes, they like Jack Stoll, and they like Grant Calcaterra, and they like Tyree Jackson. You can't count on any of those guys doing those things.
Right. I mean, this takes a chunk out of the playbook. There's things they just can't do now. So they're going to have to rely on. And look, I'm always a big proponent of throwing to the backs. It's something they haven't done really the last 2 years. I mean, Gainwell, what did he catch? 30 balls last year as a rookie. He was a big part of the passing game. Has not caught the ball well since day one of OTAs. We kind of could see this coming. He's run the ball well, but Miles' receiving numbers have gone down every year since he was a 50 catch guy as a rookie, 52 catches, whatever it was. I'd like to, and they're all good. I mean, they're all potentially good receivers. Boston Scott's a really good receiver. I'd like to see him throw to the backs. I think that's a good way to, look, Jalen needs that middle of the field underneath throw on 3rd and 4. And those guys can move the chains in those situations like Goddard could. So I really like to see him get the backs involved in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of confidence that that's going to happen.
I don't either.
I mean, I think the most obvious answer here is it more goes to the receivers because they haven't been shy about this. Offense runs through 3 players. One of those players is out, so those other 2 players are going to end up.
And one of them has a bad ankle. It was
fair, and one of them has a hurt knee that was limiting him in practice. But I still think that's the way this offense is going to run. Now, it could mean some more opportunities for Zach Pascal, he's not going to be, a wide tight end. He's not going to be like lining up in line and blocking, but he is a good blocking wide receiver who's physical. So there might be some ways to involve him a little bit more.
Do you know that Jalen Hurts has as many career touchdown passes to offensive linemen as to running backs?
The Lane?
It's 1 to Lane, and I think 1 to Gainwell.
Interesting.
So, yeah. I mean, I like Pascal, and he's caught the ball well the few times he's gotten it. It's going to take a village. I mean, it's going to take a little bit from everybody.
Do you think it forces them to be a little more predictable in terms of personnel usage? Like, are they now, or do they just have to be more of an 11 team?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think there's a chance of that. I think it just hurts Jalen so much. I mean, he has such a comfort level. I think one of us wrote a story about this, just how much he trusts Dallas and
we saw that from day one.
Yeah. And there's just they're just on the same wavelength. And on those 3rd and 5s, I mean, he has so much faith. 4th and 1, throw to Goddard. He's going to be open. He's going to catch the ball, and then he's going to get yards. It's I think it's just so reassuring for Jalen to know he's there, and to all of a sudden lose that. It's going to make things a lot tougher for Jalen, and he's going to have to. I mean, because I think his whole decision-making process, like he knows, all right, I'm looking deep, I'm looking mid, but I have Dallas. And when the pocket starts breaking down or whatever it is, he can throw to Dallas, and that's not there now. That's a big loss.
Yeah.
So
he's so reliable, man.
So
reliable. You know what you're getting. You know he's going to catch the ball for the most part.
And then run somebody over.
In the last few weeks, he's become a huge third down target. That was something they wanted to get him the ball more on 3rd down. They've done that. So, yeah, it's a loss. And the nice thing, though, in a way, is that they've lost 3 significant players on this team: in Dallas Goedert, Devontae Maddox, Jordan Davis. we think all three are going to be back at some point.
Yeah, we don't really know, but I mean, look,
None of those are like definite season enders.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 months left in the regular season.
Plus, yeah.
So yeah, you would think you'd get them all back.
That's nice because we've gone through a lot of seasons here where a guy goes down and we don't see him for a year.
Yeah, and the old IR rule, you either had to keep a guy on the roster or he's out for the year. So
and even the next iteration of that, you had to like designate these guys.
Right.
Now, I mean, you're right. A few years ago, you couldn't bring these three back.
Right. Well, you probably wouldn't put them on IR.
Yeah.
Now you're in a roster crunch.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully we see him.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully we see them soon, and it'll help to get those guys back eventually. I would like to see, and they're all like 1 week apart too when they can come back. Like Jordan Davis could potentially be back for the Titans game. Avante would be the next week. Dallas will be the next week. Doesn't mean that's when they'll be back, but
and then Marlon the next week.
Possibly, yeah. I don't think they're bringing Marlon back this year.
I don't either.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Cut Suh?
Yeah. No.
You're doing the first one, aren't you?
Oh, am I? Oh, that's my fault. Yeah. Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino, Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sports book. Rivers Casino, Philadelphia. Philly loves a winner. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I'm never going to hear the end of that.
It's the Nissan Thrill of the Drive event. So gift yourself what you really want this holiday season and shop at your local Nissan store or visit nissanusa.com today. Just like the holidays, these offers won't last.
Opioid addiction is a national public health crisis. The Someone You Know podcast from the Independence Blue Cross Foundation offers inspiring stories that challenge stigma, offer hope, and humanize the disease of addiction. Download the new Season 3 of Someone You Know on all major podcast platforms. You're never going to let me hear the end of that, are you?
It's not a big deal.
Okay. I was looking at you. I'm like, what's he doing? He's just going to let me flounder here. Let's get into this game a little bit. Colts.
Wouldn't it be founder? I believe founder is the word, right? Founder? Flounder? Flounder's a fish. I don't know. Anyway.
It's flounder, isn't it?
Anyway.
Okay. Eagles-Colts game.
Yeah. Tough game.
The Colts are a weird team, obviously.
Yeah.
They have a guy who's a head coach who wasn't in the building a few weeks ago. They have a quarterback who's been like up and down when he's been on the field, and then they take him off the field. He's back. He played pretty well last week. Their running back, they're hitting this game at a bad time if you're the Eagles. Jonathan Taylor was banged up earlier in the season. Looked pretty healthy.
They ran the ball okay without him, too.
Yeah.
When John Taylor was at Salem High School and won the New Jersey Meet It Champions 100 and 200, I was the announcer. It's my...
The other day, what was it? It was Wednesday. I'm in the locker room, and I was like, well, where's Rube? I got to talk to him about this story budget we're working on. I look over, and there he is. Him and Devin Allen getting into it, talking about some track stuff I don't understand.
He's never lost at the Milrose games. We were talking about Milrose.
Oh, yeah, Milrose.
Yeah.
Milrose Place?
No, it's a TV show. Oh. No, the Milrose games goes back to the 1880s, oldest indoor track meet in the world, annual meet in New York. And he's like 4-0 in the Milrose. But he won't be able to run it this year. It's in early February.
Okay. This game, obviously, it starts with Jonathan Taylor. If you're the Eagles, so much of their problems on defense stem from the run game. And it's a little weird because, like, at times, you look at it and you say, all right, well, 3.1 yards, like, and you can kind of, I think part of Jonathan Gannon is okay with teams running on them because it means they're not throwing deep on them. But you also have to get off the field if that's the way you're going to play defense.
Yeah, I still think it was those third down completions that Taylor Heineke hit that were really the problem.
Yeah.
It wasn't the 2 and 3, 4 yard runs. That's not what beat the Eagles. It was getting it to 3rd and 4. And then Heineke, I think it was 7 for 10.
Yeah, I think both things are true because there were times where they were getting in the 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1 because they were picking up chunks on 1st and 2nd down. They didn't get a lot of like zeros or negatives.
That's true. But I also think if the offense hadn't committed all those turnovers and had scored more points,
you still win.
Then they get Washington out of that being able to do that. But it's a concern. I don't really care what I was surprised that when the game was over to see that 3-1, and there was 3 kneel downs at the end, and they affect the number. But I'm still more concerned with how wide open Terry McLaurin was on most of those. And a couple he was covered well, and they just hit big plays. But I still think it's going to be hard to beat this team running without really throwing the ball and making plays. But they made enough to win the game. So I don't think he's going to make any big time changes. Just try to get him into 3rd and 7 instead of 3rd and 3.
Yeah, and that's what this whole defense is. It's like get into these known pass situations so you can let your front attack. I wish they'd challenge a little bit more with their corners. There were some plays where it's like you're conceding a first down to not give up a big play, and I hate that, especially when you have good corners.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that was just execution more than I don't think they wanted to give up those. They didn't want those guys to be that wide open. There were guys who were just.
I don't know if it's execution when you got a corner playing. It's like 3rd and 2. You got a corner playing 8 yards off.
Yeah, I'd have to see the particular play, but I think in general, they've been pretty good. I mean, their pass defense has been really good this year. There haven't been guys open for the most part, but there were Monday night.
Yeah. The next one, and that kind of leads into Matt Ryan, who at times he's been really good. At times he's been bad. He's turned the football over. He has 9 picks in 8 games, 2nd in the league in interceptions behind Josh Allen. And you live with that, though. I mean, obviously he's not played well recently at times, but you live with that because the big plays are there. With Matt Ryan, like, unless he's breaking free as a runner because he's the fastest human on earth, we saw that last week. Unless that's happening, you're not really getting those big plays. They have decent receivers.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, the rookie from Cincinnati, is pretty good. Paris Campbell's starting to show something. Took a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Matt Ryan's a guy who's, I mean, I thought he was done like his last couple of years in Atlanta. And his numbers look good, but I mean, he doesn't have a big arm at this point in his career. How old is Matt Ryan? Was he 36?
I don't know.
37.
Look it up for you.
Look that up for me, Dave.
See where he is on the Suh line.
Get on that. But
37.
Yeah, 37.
Wow.
When did he turn 37?
May 17th.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, they just got done playing a bunch of young quarterbacks.
I forgot to send him a card.
Now they're playing a guy who's 37. And then Aaron Rodgers he's up there. But he scares me because he's so savvy. He's so smart. He's seen everything. The last 5 quarterbacks they faced, none of them started more than 20 games.
Good point.
He started like 220.
You're probably not going to be able to confuse him as much.
Right. So I think when he's throwing interceptions, just because his arm's just not, his arm's just not that good.
Yeah, if you like disguising coverages against Matt Ryan, it's not going to do the same thing as against.
But there's there's a lot of, I mean, when Sam Ehlinger was named the quarterback, I'm thinking they're going to win this game 30-0. And then the worst possible thing that could have happened was for the Eagles was Frank Reich getting fired and, a new coach coming in, going back to Matt Ryan. Now you have, and I mean, their defense, we'll get to that, but I mean, their defense is legit too. So if Matt Ryan plays well, they're a tough team to beat.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And for a while, that offense looked completely broken.
Yeah.
Just like inept. And it's why Frank Reich got fired. I do feel bad for Frank Reich because, I mean, he probably would have stuck with Matt Ryan and the offense wouldn't have been so anemic. And then, then he gets fired and the new coach gets to put Matt Ryan back on the field.
It's crazy that Nick Foles is there. I mean, the guy's a Super Bowl MVP, and he's like an asterisk at this point.
I mean, he's the weirdest career
ever.
Yeah, he ruins every list because what do you do with him?
Yeah. But how crazy would it be if he ends up playing this game?
It'd be weird. It'd be good to see him before the game. I want to talk about the Colts O-line because it's playing better recently.
Yeah, how about that?
I mean, it was bad for a while. Honestly, a big part of that was getting Matt Pryor off the field. I mean, they tried to play him at every spot on that line just about, and he was bad at all of them.
Now he's first-team bench.
Yeah. They were pretty good last week. Now they were going against a team that hasn't gotten much pressure. That's official, by the way. The Eagles announced the Ndamukong Suh deal. They Oakland has Oakland.
Oakland.
Sorry, the Raiders have 10 sacks this year, so it's like not like they're getting a ton of pressure. The Eagles will get more pressure than that. So I'm curious to see what that offensive line looks like against a team that can get after the quarterback a little bit more. But Matt Ryan gets rid of the ball pretty quick.
He does. I don't know how healthy Josh Sweat is. What was he on the injury report? Was he
not on the injury report at all?
Oh, okay, that's a good sign.
I was worried about him with that knee, but he was not on the injury report Wednesday.
Yeah, it's it'll be interesting if they can generate some pressure from the edge. I mean, really lately, all the pressures come from Hargrave, most of it.
Yeah.
So
he's been very good. Yeah. Now they have a couple of new linemen. I'm curious to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to get pressure from. I mean, Suh. Who knows? We don't know what kind of shape these guys are in or anything.
Robert Quinn's like, hey, I'm pretty young. I'm the young guy in the room.
Added 3 mid-30s defensive linemen in a week.
Yeah, so now the Eagles have 9 players over 30 on the team. 5 of them are defensive linemen.
That's crazy. Trend story.
It is.
Right there.
Yeah, it'll make me feel at home because I'm the same age as all those guys. Let's flip to the other side. Colts defense is pretty good.
I thought you wanted me to sit there.
Colts defense is pretty good, even without Shaq Leonard. I almost called him Darius Leonard. He changed his name. Even without him, they're still playing really well. They're getting decent cornerback play.
Well, he's only missed he just went out, right?
Yeah. But they play well.
Yeah. I mean, they're a top 5 defense.
Yeah. Their line's really good. DeForest Buckner is injured, so that's something to monitor this week. He didn't practice on Wednesday, has a neck injury. That would be helpful if he's not in there for the Eagles.
Yeah, good player.
Yeah, and Kwity Paye and Yannick Ngakoue were both limited on Wednesday. So they have some good players on that front, a little banged up.
Yeah, we'll see who goes, but they're formidable, and they do a lot of things well on defense. They're really good on third down. They're good against the run. You're going in there without one of your best receivers. It's a short week. The dome's going to be loud. I think the fans are, going to be kind of back on the team side.
Yeah.
The winning.
And that's something, by the way, we haven't talked about much, but the Eagles have struggled with their silent count in loud venues. So they got to fix that stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to learn a lot about this team Sunday.
Yeah. You got to make sure it was a Sunday game.
Yeah.
The last 2 haven't been on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Yannick Ngakoue, I want to go a little deeper on him because he killed the Eagles.
He did.
Last year when they played the Raiders in Las Vegas. He had a monster game, ended up being named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Really got after Jordan Mailata in that one. I'm sure Mailata has had this one circled on his calendar for a while.
I'm sure he has. I think you said earlier, it was probably the worst game of his career.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I went back and actually watched the game yesterday. It started off okay, and then Ngakoue just started to cook, and he was setting up stuff. It was impressive.
And Jordan's not healthy. That shoulder's bothering him. He won't use it as an excuse. He probably wouldn't even mention it, but it's definitely affecting him.
Yeah, it is.
And
he's still wearing that bionic arm thing.
Yeah, he is. So that's a concern. He's a really good rusher and relentless, and that's a huge matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. The last thing I have on my list here of things to talk about, unless you have anything else in that game.
No.
Pro Bowl voting opened this week, so I just figured we could go through some names and try to figure out which Eagles are going to end up in the Pro Bowl this year.
Okay. How do you want to do this?
Let's just start naming some guys. Who do you think is the most likely guy?
Most likely to make the Pro Bowl? I would say Jalen.
I think he's the most likely. He's MVP candidate.
I mean, even average quarterbacks make it because so many drop out. I mean, the better quarterbacks. I mean, Tua is in the AFC, Mahomes is in the AFC. Josh Allen, I don't even know if he's in that. He's not having a great year. He's in the AFC. So, I mean, there's some good
Lamar's in the AFC.
Lamar's in the AFC. Look, he's going to make the Pro Bowl. I mean, that's a done deal.
Yeah. I think A.J. Brown, pretty solid pick.
Yeah, I mean, Let's
It's a more crowded field.
Yeah, definitely. Got off to a great start. I mean, the last 2 weeks, and now he's a little banged up with the ankle, so we'll see. But certainly deserves it.
Mhm.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I mean, how do you not? You know, he's
6 picks is tough to.
6 picks so far. First Eagle ever with an interception in 5 straight games. That's crazy.
Mhm.
I mean, the Eagles had 11 interceptions all year last year. He has 6 in 9 games,
Yeah.
or 6 in 5 games, and a lot of them really acrobatic. And he's a big name. Like, he's a guy who's got a name. I think he plays the game in a way that draws attention
Mhm.
to himself, even when he's not making big plays. People know him.
And we see interceptions rule. Like Trayvon Diggs last year
Yeah.
didn't necessarily have an all-pro season. He was an all-pro because he had a ton of picks.
What did he finish with? 10?
I don't
Something
remember.
like that. Yeah. I'm curious to see how many GJ finishes with, because he's got 8 more games to pad those stats.
Yeah. Slay should be.
Should be.
I mean, the problem is Bradbury should be too, and he probably won't be. It's tough to bring 2 corners from one team.
Three D-backs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slay's a bigger name. Bradbury has made a Pro Bowl a couple years ago. I think it's going to come down to numbers. Slay has 3 picks. Bradbury has 3. They both have 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Slay gets the nod.
Probably Slay gets the nod. But if Bradbury can get if he can get himself 6, he'll
Kelsey's
really
probably
chance.
A shoo-in.
Yeah, I think
at this point.
People, just write his name.
Yeah.
He's at the point in his career where,
Lane better be, but no
knows?
Guarantees. He should be.
Yeah, he
was mad last year.
Yeah.
And he deserved to be mad. And he's playing much better this year.
He is. Yeah, he's playing great. He's playing as well as he has since before that ankle in 18. I hope he does. He deserves it.
What do you think about Reddick and Hargrave?
I mean, it comes down to sacks. I think Hargrave is tied for the most among interior linemen right now.
6, right?
Yeah. I mean, and, look, those guys, that's not even their biggest, interior lineman sacks are kind of, it's great if you get them, but if he gets 10 sacks, he's going to the Pro Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Reddick.
He went to the Pro Bowl last year with 7.5.
Yeah.
And he didn't finish strong.
Right.
You know what I mean? He got all those in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
He's hitting his stride right now as voting opens.
That's true. Yeah.
And it is it's not all fan voting. So
that's true. I think Miles is probably a long shot. I mean,
yeah, there's so many running backs who are going to put up numbers.
Yeah. I think, he's on pace for mid 1300s, which is, and that his rushing average is always really high.
But the whole league's running now.
Yeah. That's a really interesting trend. People are running the ball more and scoring fewer points.
The NFL is so cyclical.
Yeah. But it's 2.5 points fewer per game, per team.
Yeah.
Than last year. It's crazy. Pro Football Reference has, that annual, it's great. It's a great page where you can compare scoring, passing, rushing, interceptions year by year since 1920, since the league started. It's a great page to look for trends. But Miles is probably a long shot if he can. And plus, I don't think he'll ever really get enough carries to, to be a weekly, to get his 100 yards a week. Who else?
I think that's it. Landon Dickerson, I think he's playing well, but recognition for interior linemen gets pushed down the line.
Yeah, Kelsey didn't make it till his 5th year, I think. Plus, it doesn't help Dickerson when he keeps telling you he's playing like crap. I think it helps him. He's like,
I don't know.
Dave, I suck. I shouldn't be in the league.
He's going to come try to find me. No, I suck.
Yeah, so, that's probably, that's probably it.
Jake Elliott was a Pro Bowler last year. He doesn't get to kick the ball anymore.
He's made 5 field goals.
6.
6?
6 of 8.
6 of 8. 1 blocked, and the other one he missed was a long one.
Yeah.
That's that's a lot of guys who have a shot.
Yeah. 8-1 team.
Goddard, if he misses 4 games, and
we didn't talk about him.
If he misses 4 games, he'd be back with he'd have 4 games left. His numbers are the best in the NFC, and I'll tell you what, if he has 4 big games when he comes back, he'd have a shot. Yeah. Although the voting will be,
but he could be voted in just based on what he's done.
Yeah, that's true. When's the deadline?
I don't know.
Because you know what? He's going to be among the top NFC tight ends for a couple weeks.
And he's clearly
He's the best
he's
tight
the
end in the
best.
NFC.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
he's the best,
Yeah.
but how do you factor in the
That's
missed
a
time?
good point. I don't know. I don't think people will not vote for him.
Mhm.
It comes down to when the teams vote, like when and where he is at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's got a shot.
All right, want to wrap this up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
All right.
And let's you want to make sure they didn't sign any other 35-year-old D tackles.
Yeah, none in the last few minutes. So we'll wrap this up. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. We'll be back with you on Sunday after the game. That's it.
Not in the middle of the night.
Not in the middle of the night.
For
That'll
us.
be a nice break from that. We've been live here at Rivers Casino in Philadelphia. It's been a lot of fun. That's it. For Rube, I'm Dave. We'll talk to you soon.